Early Michelin mascots, known as bibendum, look more like padded giants than the friendly figures seen today. Tudor armor made for Henry VIII featured deliberately exaggerated codpieces as displays of power and masculinity. A North Dakota farmer proudly displays the enormous grasshopper he killed in 1937. Children pose inside cavities of the Willamette meteorite, while it was displayed in New York in 1911. A 1930s leather welding mask resembles something from a nightmare rather than ordinary safety equipment. This bizarre 1949 American pipe allowed two people to smoke simultaneously through a shared chamber. Maud Wagner, one of America's earliest female tattoo artists, displays her ink in 1911. Would you have trusted her with your first tattoo? Models on CBS's The Big Payoff spin across the show's so-called human roulette wheel. Prisoners at Pentonville climb a punishing treadwheel used for hard labor in 1872. A 1920s strongwoman supports a full piano and its player across her chest. The preserved head of German nun Maria Rosenthal survives as an unsettling 18th century relic. 18-month-old show poodle Gigan Kulan acts as nanny to baby Brian Burks in Berkshire in 1956. 3 Chinese women accused of witchcraft are restrained in wooden stocks in 1885. Two daredevils play golf on a steel beam high above the city in 1932. A healer uses hollow buffalo horns for cupping therapy in Africa around 1920. Would you have agreed to this treatment? A 1984 portrait documents an Indonesian man living with severe leprosy. An English family squeezes children and luggage onto a motorcycle outing in 1931. A handmade Dublin book from 1833 to 1837 preserves tiny samples of contemporary needlework and fabric. A 1914 Life cover imagined how people in 1950 might mock the fashions of 1914. Baron Walter Rothschild rides one of the giant tortoises at his Tring estate in the 1890s. Icelandic strongman John Paul Sigmarsson completes a 551-pound one-handed deadlift in 1987. A 19th century posture machine forced the body upright with pulleys, straps, and rigid supports. A colonial-era rickshaw portrait shows a barefoot black runner pulling a white couple in the early 1900s. What detail says the most about the power structure of this era? Betty Page playfully cracks a whip toward Ringo Starr's cigarette in 1969. A 1908 medical portrait records the severe eye bulging that hyperthyroidism can cause. A U.S. Army Pigeon Service soldier carries message birds near the end of World War I in 1918. Guests tumble into a pool during a chaotic party at Hollywood's Garden of Allah in 1962. A 1965 KGB spy ring concealed a tiny camera and film wrapped around the wearer's finger. A U.S. game warden poses with a 250-pound nearly 11-inch bore punt gun seized in 1920. Raised scar patterns form a deliberate body art tradition, photographed in 1965. An open-air Paris urinal stands directly on a public street in 1875. Could you imagine using this on a busy Paris street? Albert Marshall poses with the wooden refrigerator design he patented in Minnesota in 1899. A 1961 bachelorette party reaches a moment when one guest drinks from a strangely improvised container. A condemned prisoner is strapped into an electric chair during a 1956 American execution procedure. Norwegian suffragette Marie Hogue and a male friend exchange clothes for a playful 1895 portrait. A woman from Maharaja Ram Singh II's Jaipur court poses for a studio portrait around 1857. A circus elephant lifts a performer by the head during a 1937 stunt. An Indian fakir rests calmly across a bed of nails in 1910. Dumbo, the elephant, prepares to sit beside a freshly painted bench in 1956. Who ignored the warning, the elephant or its handlers? A small building burns during a dramatic 1949 demonstration of fire-resistant construction in New Haven. A 1913 writing aid braces the chin to prevent students from slouching over their desks. The Ovitz family, who survived Auschwitz after Mengelé's experiments, gathers for a post-war portrait in 1950. A 1901 portrait records Victorian asylum patients once hidden from public view. Alfred Hitchcock floats in the River Thames while searching for inspiration in 1958. Circus acrobats form a perfectly mirrored aerial pattern in 1948. British children wait inside a trench-style air raid shelter around 1941. A crew member stands beside the giant monster prop built for the 1957 film The Monster That Challenged the World. Would this creature have frightened you in a 1950s cinema? Passengers dine in surprising comfort aboard an airship flying from Berlin to Paris in 1929. A supposed Marilyn Monroe and John F. Kennedy encounter is actually staged with look-alikes. A woman wrestles an alligator in an American roadside show in 1939. The wives of Apollo 8's astronauts react as they hear their husbands speaking from orbit in 1968. Pearl Harbor lies burning after the Japanese carrier attack on December 7, 1941. A car sits improbably atop a massive Mojave Desert boulder in a 1951 promotional image. A visitor smokes an enormous cigar at an American tobacco exhibition in 1924. A Madrid dog wears a sign that earned it the nickname the atheist dog in the 1960s. What do you imagine made people call this Madrid dog an atheist? Milton Reeves's 8-wheeled Octo-Auto, introduced in 1911, tried to make rough roads more comfortable. A Spanish woman feeds a baby goat from her mouth in 1928. An allied hunter wears waterproof clothing sewn from sea lion intestines in Alaska in 1905. A 1955 shared mouthpiece lets two people smoke the same cigarette at once. A tiny British Wright-craft truck passes much larger vehicles in 1953. Harry Houdini demonstrates an escape from a Washington jail cell in 1906. Women play volleyball on stilts at Venice Beach in 1942. Andy Warhol reveals the surgical scars left after Valerie Solanas shot him in a 1969 portrait. Does this portrait change how you see Warhol's public image? A 1910 watercolor of Munich's registry office was painted by the young Adolf Hitler. A competitor launches from a towering wooden ramp during a London sled jumping contest in 1933. Skier Dick Brown sails over his parked car in California's Lassen County in 1940. Brunettes stage a mock boycott of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes during the film's 1953 publicity. A Kiribati warrior wears a pufferfish helmet and carries a sword edged with shark teeth in 1925. An 18th-century Ottoman dental illustration blames toothache on troublesome jinn living inside teeth. This formal portrait shows a young man who later became one of the 20th century's most recognizable figures. Contestants attack pies without using their hands at a 1937 American fair. Would you enter a contest like this? The 1982 Sunpod promised private tanning inside a transparent shell on the beach. A 1916 Coney Island sideshow portrait shows a performer exhibited because of facial differences. A horse clears an entire row of crouching men during a Washington stunt in 1930. A young woman from Oaxaca notices the camera during a candid 1985 portrait. A clinical asylum photograph isolates the legs of a woman diagnosed with hysteria. During a German air raid, London children sleep in hammocks suspended above unused subway tracks in 1940. Elvis Presley fans stare upward in collective shock during a mid-1950s performance. Prisoners at Mauthausen carry 50-kilogram granite blocks up the camp's 186 stairs of death in 1942. Which detail makes the scale of this ordeal clearest? A Navajo performer wears a dramatic bear costume for a 1914 ceremonial portrait. Antarctic scientist Harold Hamilton poses beside a sea lion skeleton during the Australasian expedition of 1913. Teenage Jack Nicholson poses at his high school prom in 1953. A boy leaps from a New York building into the Hudson River during the summer of 1948. Irish Michaela holds a pose, while pinup artist Alberto Vargas sketches her in the mid-1950s. A U.S. helicopter sprays chemical defoliants over Vietnam's jungle in 1967. Members of a Yakuza clan gather in a Japanese public bathhouse in 1947, their tattoos fully visible. Swimmer Claire Ferry demonstrates a peculiar 1910s pose with her hands and feet tied. What was this strange swimsuit demonstration meant to prove? American troops discover a German soldier trapped beneath a collapsed trench near Linnich in 1945. A condemned inmate wears a Westinghouse electric emblem on his forehead inside a 1945 gas chamber. Composer Krzysztof Komeda plays saxophone beside Zofia in a quietly surreal 1958 Polish portrait. University of Heidelberg students gather around an opium pipe in Germany in 1903. Two Moroccan women pose beneath full-body veils in 1971. A bride and groom complete their civil marriage registration in Tajikistan in 1970. A group of Hindu sadhus gathers for a formal portrait in northern India around 1890. Models present towering sculptural hairstyles at a Munich competition in 1964. Which hairstyle would have won your vote? Long before the internet, staged cat photographs already supplied visual jokes in 1914. Crowds protest after 6-year-old Ruby Bridges enters an all-white New Orleans school in 1960. Women carry a wounded dog in an animal ambulance during wartime England in 1940. Andre the Giant playfully sizes up professional boxer Bobby Chacon in 1979. A Dutch Army bicycle regiment assembles shortly before the German invasion in 1940. Technicians maneuver the enormous whale miniature built for Moby Dick at Elstree Studios in 1955. A 19th century advertisement promises a vigorous massage without leaving home. Screaming fans surround the Beatles at the height of Beatlemania in the 1960s. What is the wildest example of Beatlemania you have heard? Victorian public health workers pose with disinfecting equipment in England in 1877. A 1946 American car seat leaves a baby exposed to almost every modern safety hazard. Members of a Canadian naturist club listen to an outdoor sermon in the 1960s. French beauty judges wear disguises to conceal their identities while scoring contestants in 1937. Victorian mustache cups kept hot drinks from soaking a carefully groomed mustache. Winston Churchill marks his birthday with guests on November 30th, 1943. A German military horse receives gas chamber treatment for a skin condition in 1942. Zoo workers prepare an ostrich for transport at Lincoln Park in Los Angeles in the early 1900s. How would you have moved an ostrich through a city? A 1912 Eugenics Society photograph arranges people of markedly different heights as supposed evidence for selective breeding. A New York recycler disappears beneath a mountain of collected tin cans in the 1970s. A racist 1941 wartime card portrayed Japanese people as animals and called itself a hunting license. A 19th century funeral director carried miniature coffins as portable sales samples. Before automatic machinery, a human pin setter reset bowling pins by hand in 1935. Burmese women play cards while visiting London in 1935. Women turned lowered stockings into fashion by painting elaborate designs directly onto their knees in the 1920s. Chained prisoners stand in striped uniforms outside an American facility in 1903. What detail in this photograph stays with you the longest? A Parisian driver carries a dog in a small side basket attached to a car in the 1920s.